the opening title, what opens your door, what inspires you, what I realized is that sometimes it just takes a little thing. It takes a little word picture. It takes just a little tweak, and suddenly you get that, aha. You get the, hey, thank you, Rhonda. I can't wait to hear it either. I'm actually excited to see what I'm going to say this morning. It just takes one thing, and then it's like pop. Perspective changes. And what's so cool about perspective is that it can change so quickly and so easily. Right now I'm looking at this wall, and that's all I see. And if I take and turn myself around, all I've got to do is turn myself 180 degrees, and my perspective changes. So what piece changes everything for you? And so what I realized is that this piece about the butterfly, the caterpillar, the cocoon, the imaginal cells, this piece of the imaginal cells in the butterfly, and if you missed that, I've got it posted on Facebook, and you can go back, and I've also fixing these all up and putting them on my YouTube page, so youtube.com/lifestyle for health, I think it is. So the more I think about these imaginal cells, and imaginal cells, if you're just joining us, when a caterpillar goes into the cocoon, the caterpillar turns into this goo. And there's these things in the caterpillar that start to come alive called imaginal cells. And the imaginal cells are eventually, they reconnect with each other and they form this new thing called the butterfly. But in the process, the imaginal cells are all floating around, vibrating on their own, and the different vibrations begin to connect with each other. And so out of the goo, something new is created. But what's interesting to me is that the imaginal cells are shaking and baking the whole time because they're fighting initially this huge battle with the immune system. The immune system is trying to kill them because they're foreign to the caterpillar. But eventually they're so diligent and so committed, out of the goo comes a new you. That's really good, Cheryl. I love when you guys are starting to talk on this. This is so much better when you engage. But I have to remember to stay focused on where I'm going. So eventually they overcome the immune system, the battles, the challenges of life. They overcome the goo and they start to become the caterpillar, but they've got to fight this fight to get there. And there's a lot of mess in the process of that happening. So that picture has been like the inspiration for me for the last couple of days to literally let me see what's going on in my life differently. It's changed my perspective. It's changed how I'm seeing things. And I actually believe that it's opening the door for me to move into this next season, this next piece. So as we're going through these calls and this morning time together, remember, I'm sharing my journey with you guys, the purpose being to inspire you on your journey. And the primary focus, my heart's desire, is to see voice come to your voice. In other words, what is your voice that needs to be shared with the world? We're seeing so much of this voice issue in the world today with the conflict in our political system. We're seeing so much about voice. The interview that Megyn Kelly did last night with Donald Trump was fascinating because he talked about all he is a voice for this disenfranchised group of people. And Bernie Sanders is a voice for another group of people. And as I thought about that, it hit me. It's like, okay, it's nice to go have somebody else be your voice because you're frustrated that you have no voice. But what's in my heart is not to be your voice. What's in my heart is to encourage you to be your voice because your voice matters and you will make a difference in your world. I don't think we need to just be waiting on everybody else or somebody else to be the voice. But there's a voice in you that matters. So back on track with where we're going. So the imaginal cells for me, and you can Google that. Somebody might type it in. It's imaginal cells, IMAGINAL. Just Google imaginal cells, and it comes up with some really neat, simple stuff that might inspire you. So that has opened a door for me. Then last night, I was winding down the end of the day. I was on my rebounder, getting the steps I needed for my Fitbit. So watching the season, the series finale to Castle, it was really weird. It wasn't that great a show, but you want to see the last one. And at the end, he made the comment, every writer needs to find what inspires him. And I thought, that is such a good thing. And so I spent the evening after that coming up to my room and journaling on what inspires me. So question to y'all today for your journal time is, what inspires you? What is it that inspires you to write, to speak, to be, to go into the goo, if you will, and to come out and create this new thing, this new you. What inspired you in that process? So great journal question. I put down a bunch of things, and finally I wrote down the one that really mattered, so I want to share that with you. The one thing in my life that's touched my heart more than anything, for 10 years I taught grade school, and periodically I hear from one of the kids I taught, and when they tell me that that year they spent with me changed and impacted the rest of their lives, I go, that's what actually inspires Forrest. And so we develop this community, the Destiny community, our Destiny plan, this message that we're bringing forth. I want you guys to know what really inspires my heart is knowing that I touch and I make a difference in your lives, and what really matters to me is that you touch and make a difference in somebody else's life. So then as I was journaling, I said, okay, Lord, if I follow this path you've got me on, if I follow the path you've got me on, that's kind of cute, right? I said, can I make a really big difference? I mean, I'd like to do something other than just talk to 20 or 30 people on Periscope or Facebook each day. I said, can I make a really big difference doing this? And God is so funny. He said, well, what's a big difference? What's a big? And we underlined the word big. So I'm just going to give that to you guys. I don't have an answer for that. But what is a big difference? Is it a Donald Trump? Is it a Bernie Sanders? Or is it somebody in a classroom touching a kid's life? Or is it, I was getting my hair cut the other day, and Kelly said, Forrest, no matter how old you are, I'll come. I want to come to I'll come to wherever you are. I'll cut you here, because she said seniors deserve to be loved and cared for and nurtured too. And I thought it was just a warm feeling to know that she cares enough to want to go make a difference for folks when they get older. So, inspiration. Started reading a new book yesterday. I want to encourage you guys in this one. True Reagan. The way I pick books to read, either Cheryl gives them to me, or I'm in the store, I see a book and it just jumps out. And as I was shopping at Costco yesterday, I read the cover on this and I started to not get it because it was $15, and I thought, well, do I need to spend $15? But something said yes. I've read the introduction to it, just the first 4 pages, opening another door of inspiration for me. So I just want you to know that always be open to looking for the books, the pieces that will open the door. What's going to open your door? What's going to give you the paradigm shift? What's going to give you the perspective shift that suddenly changes everything and allows you to engage in life at a different heartfelt level. So let's wrap up with this, because we are once again running out of time, and I don't want to run too far over today. So as I was doing the journaling last night, I said, Lord, so many times this last year I've felt like I'm just looping on the same stuff over and over, over and over. And he said, Forrest, there's 2 ways to look at this looping process. He said there truly is the wandering, the lostness, the repeating, the looping that serves no purpose. And that's the frustration that we see so many people today struggling with. They're just looping in this hopelessness of I have sickness, I have disease, there's no way out of that. I have no hope for my finances. I've lost all of my investments. I don't have a good job. My marriage, my family isn't working. So we just keep looping to no end. But there's another way, there's another perspective that I got out of these imaginal cells. What if, so there's the one looping, which I've done for a long time. But I realized that this last year I have not been looping that same way. The looping actually hasn't been looping the imaginal cells. When I opened myself to the Lord and I said, it's time for Forrest to become the man he was called and created to be when he was a little boy. The enemy comes in to steal, to kill, to destroy, to take all of this stuff out of you. And I think that happens to, we know it's happening to people because all we've got to do is look at this revolution happening in America. There are so many people today struggling and hurting because their life isn't making sense. The Lord said, Forrest, you're in a season where right now the looping is not the looping. It's this vibration of the imaginal cells, the new you being created, because Scripture is very clear that God isn't fixing the old, He's creating the new. He said the looping you're in right now is the battle of these cells in you, overcoming the immune system, overcoming the challenges, overcoming the fears and the doubts, overcoming that and recreating the new. So, where are the imaginal cells in your life playing? Are we nurturing them? Are we encouraging them? Are we giving them the opportunity to create what God wants them to create? So we're going to skip ahead 4 pages in my notes, and I want to close with this little visual picture today. Do you really want to spend the rest of your life every 90 days going to a caterpillar convention? Do you really want to spend the rest of your life going to a caterpillar convention? Because here's what happens at caterpillar conventions. All of the caterpillars show up. They all leave believing that someday they're going to be a butterfly. But they know deep down within that probably only a few of them are going to become butterflies. They end up walking out happy, but also knowing that they're never going to become a butterfly. They end up leaving believing, but they don't actually believe from here to here. And the reality of being a caterpillar is that you are hardwired to eventually become a butterfly. And a butterfly, when it goes out, a butterfly pollinates. A butterfly brings blessing and life to the world. It brings beauty to the world. And it's a little different analogy than an eagle, kind of like a tortoise is a little different analogy than the hare. We talk about that a lot. But I thought about the butterfly pollinating and bringing life and touching lives. And a butterfly, pollinates a field of flowers, and then they multiply and they grow and they bring beauty. And I thought, wow, that is like so very cool. Caterpillars are programmed to not go to caterpillar conventions. But we were given the choice of whether or not we're going to spend our life going to caterpillar conventions and then leaving and never becoming the butterfly. And I realized I've spent so much of my life, the previous industry I was in, I spent so much of my life going to conventions, getting motivated, getting inspired. And there was a lot of learning and a lot of good stuff that came out of that. But I realized that a lot of it was looping on being a caterpillar instead of actually taking that step to become the voice, the message, the person that God created me to become, to go through the process of going into the goo and letting God recreate and bring out the new. So, as we close today, here's 2 things for you to think about doing, 2 assignments for you. As I'm reading Scripture, I'm reading Proverbs and I was reading in Romans today, there are so many amazing promises in there. There's so many things. And the question is, we all know it here, but the question for you today is, what's it going to take for it to go from here to your heart? And will you ask the Lord, when I read these promises now, instead of saying, that's nice, I'm at the caterpillar convention, I say, Lord, what's it going to take for this to be a revelation for me? Lord, let this be a revelation in my heart for the wisdom to go into my heart. So as you're reading and studying and thinking, the question is continually, what's it going to take for this to go from my head to the heart, for it to be a transformation? We can change. So once you decide you want to do that, here's the key. What's the one thing? What's the one thing you can change today to begin to put you on the path for that? What's the one thing you can be diligent and consistent with? Can you change who you spend a little bit of time with? Can you change what you read? Can you change what you watch? Can you change where you spend time? Can you change what you write? Can you change your journaling? What's the one thing you can begin to do today that lets you tap into your destiny, your purpose, your voice, so that when you reach the end of the journey, you go, I did it. I became what I was called to become, and I finished strong, and I lived well. So, hey guys, thanks for spending, 15 minutes with me this morning. Thanks for being a part of my Wednesday. We will continue to develop this, and I'm going to start probably this week or next week with a second Periscope sometime during the day, just because there's some other pieces I want to start talking to you about, some other vision pieces I have that I want to begin sharing with you, and there's not time on this, so we'll start looking at 2 scopes, 2 focuses, bringing that together. But meantime, I'll see you all tomorrow. Have a blessed and amazing day, and thank you for being a part of my day. And somebody finally hit the little button on the Facebook page. Thanks for hitting the thumbs up page on that. Thank you all for joining us on Facebook, and we'll talk to you guys all tomorrow. Have a blessed and amazing day.